Welcome to A Vibe Above, your space for deep healing, vibrant energy, and powerful transformation. Here, we explore holistic wellness, sound healing, mindset shifts, and the path to your future self. Every episode is designed to help you tap into the wisdom of your body, elevate your energy, and expand into the version of you that feels fully aligned. Through ancient practices, modern insights, and grounded guidance, you'll uncover the tools that create lasting change, inside and out. You're here to rise, to heal, and to step boldly into the life that's waiting for you. So let's dive in. Welcome back to A Vibe Above. I'm your host, Dawn Ranieri, and today I am here with Brent Michael Phillips. Brent is the founder of Awakening Dynamics and the author of the book Where Science Meets Spirit, which explores how science and spirituality intersect and how people can create real change in their lives through healing and manifestation. Brent, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, excited to be here. This is great.
Well, I'm excited to have you. And I would love to start to talk a little bit about the backstory of MIT and working in some of your businesses. Where did the healing start to become part of your life and shift where you were?
That's a great question. And I think the answer is a lot earlier than you might think. Because on the surface, how did as an MIT software engineer become a healer? Good question, right? That was never
Mm-hmm.
my plan. If you had told me 30 years ago that I'd be a full-time energy healing practitioner and spiritual teacher, I would have laughed you out of the room, right? I would have given you 1,000 to 1 odds. I'm like, that's never going to happen.
Right.
But the reason I say earlier is I think it really started growing up with magic. The idea of Merlin the Wizard or the Greek gods or Lord of the Rings. I was always fascinated by magic. But it seemed that real magic didn't happen anymore. That magic and miracles were things that typically happened a long time ago and only to very special people, not meant for mass consumption, right?
Right. I
So
totally
that
agree with
that
that.
was really the beginning of the fascination. And then when I was at MIT, it's funny that I did, I got my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, was working on my PhD, did all these things academically. But if you ask me, hey, Brent, what was the most valuable thing you learned across 6.5 years and 3 degrees at MIT? I would say martial arts,
Ooh.
which has nothing to do with engineering or academics, right?
Right.
But what it was to me, martial arts, again, what was about as close to real spirituality as I had found at the time, especially the inner arts, things like Kung or Aikido, that there was a certain magic to it. And it's really funny that my plan as a young man was to go out into industry and make a ton of money, and then ideally retire by 30 to spend my life studying martial arts and playing guitar and spirituality. So it was funny that that was my plan. Go make money in tech, then go study spirituality just as a hobby, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never in a million years did I think that would be my full-time career. But what happened was that when I was at MIT, I became an expert in internet programming. That was the thing I was most interested in. So when the internet boom hit in the mid 90s, I was like, my gosh, this is my gold rush. And so in 1995, I left MIT, moved to California, recruited my lifelong best friend and another business partner, and we started companies, internet startups. And I really thought I was going to be hugely successful. And the things actually got off to a pretty good start. It's kind of funny that the very first website I ever built in my life was the website for the launch of the Sony PlayStation in the summer of 1995. How
Oh,
cool is
very
that?
nice.
We did the first website for Nissan Motors. We did the first website for Disneyland. We even started a second company to make online games based on the network technology I created at MIT. So for the first year and a half, I was really living the dream. I really thought I'd sell one of these companies for millions of dollars, be retired by 30, and maybe spend my days hot tubbing with supermodels. Well, as they say, if you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans.
Yeah.
So things got off to an amazing start. I had 15 people working for me. We had a publisher for the game, two development teams, a nice office. And what really destroyed it was my health, that I had been pushing myself so hard. I was working 80, 90, 100 hours a week, no exaggeration. I was at the office every morning, late night, 7 days a week, no breaks, no holidays, no vacations, nothing like that, no weekends. At the time, I figured, well, I'll just work all the time for a couple of years and make a ton of money, and then I won't have to worry about it. What I didn't see coming was my body broke down. I started having a lot of pain. And like most people, I popped some Motrin and, tried to ignore it. But it just got worse and worse and worse from repetitive stress injuries, spending way too much time on the computer. And at first, I didn't worry too much because I figured, hey, if you got something wrong with your body, if you're sick or you're in pain, you go to the doctor and they give you something and you get better. That's what I thought, right?
That's what we think.
That's what we think. And long story short, I went to doctors. They put me in splints, put me on anti-inflammatories, sent me to physical therapy. And I didn't get better. I just kept getting worse.
Mm.
And no one understood it. I learned years later I had chronic Lyme disease. I was suffering from chemical poisoning. I had a neurological disease I was born with that I was unaware of. There's all these things that were happening, but no one had any idea. So for the
Wow.
next couple of years, basically I was going to doctors and physical therapy, and my ability to work just got less and less. It went from 100 hours a week to 80 to 60 to 40 to about 15. And my partners were losing patience with me, but they held on because I finally got an appointment to see the head doctor at the Curlin Job Clinic. It's one of the top physical therapy clinics in the world. They innovate surgeries. That's where the Olympians and pro athletes go. And I thought, hey, this guy will know what to do, right? He's got
Yeah.
all the degrees, head of this and chairman of that and all this, right? So I was so excited and I went in to meet him and he had my medical records and I figured we'd have a long appointment and discuss treatment options, something like that, right? It lasted about 30 seconds. I walked in and he just said, I'm sorry, Mr. Phillips, but there's nothing I or any doctor can do here. You're always going to be in pain and you're never going to be able to work.
Wow.
And I was stunned. And the last thing he said is he led me out of office. He said, son, do you got somewhere you can go where they can take care of you until you die? And he recommended me for lifetime disability, and I was still in my 20s. He declared me what they call permanent and stationary, which is medical lingo for we're not, and no amount of treatment is going to help, that you're just stuck. You're an impossible case. And when I told my business partners about this, I thought they'd be all, hey, Brent, hang in there. We got your back. Go through it together, right? Because one of them was my lifelong best friend. We were like soulmates, we really were. But they just said, well, if you can't work like you used to, you have no place here. So I got fired from the jobs at the companies I had founded that were built on my skill, my education, my hours, not theirs. And they turned around and sold the website company for several $1 million behind my back and forged paperwork to get away with it. So that was devastating. I found out later that my lifelong best friend and business partner had been secretly dating the woman that I was in love with and seeing. So I think he just saw this as an easy way to get rid of me. And it was beyond a trauma, way beyond, because it's not like I had one startup and it failed and I could try again. I could not.
Right.
I was in terrible, constant pain. Even driving more than 5 minutes up at a time was difficult. I'd have to drive 20 minutes to physical therapy. I'd have to pull over at least once to rest. And I'd been told by some of the best doctors in the world I was an impossible case, that I'd always be in pain, and I'd never be able to hold a job. It's hard to relay how devastating that is to an ambitious young man a couple of years out of MIT thinking he was going to conquer the world. So I was in terrible pain. I lost not only my career, but my education became worthless almost overnight. I had no way to make a living. And there was no chance of recovery. And oh, yeah, I also lost my lifelong best friend and the woman I was in love with. It wasn't just a wipeout, it was total identity annihilation.
It's like you hit rock bottom at that point.
And it was funny is that wasn't even the worst.
Mm.
I thought it was the rock bottom for sure, right? That's the thing
Yeah.
with rock bottom. It doesn't come with a sign.
Right.
It let you know
Yeah,
you're
that's
there, right?
true.
It'd be a lot easier if it did. Ding, ding, ding. You're at rock bottom. Oh, thank God. It's going to get better.
Right,
But
right.
things just got worse.
Mhm.
First thing I did was after the doctors gave up on me, they actually told me not to come back.
Wow.
Yeah, Curling Job Clinic said, Brent, don't ever come here again. We'll escort you out. We can't be wasting our resources on impossible cases like you. So I was very depressed, day drinking, starting to use drugs. I was suicidal, which I think is understandable. But I had a friend turn me on to positive thinking. And that pulled me out of the spiral for a little while. You know, nowadays we call it the law of attraction, but it's all the same stuff, right?
Hmm.
Vision boards, mantras, masterminds, think positive,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So for about 6 months, I'm doing the whole positive thinking thing, but it didn't seem to help. I just kept getting worse. All I was doing was spending money on positive thinking and not getting any result. So I gave up on that. And then I got turned on to alternative medicine. And when I got into alternative medicine, I was excited. I thought, hey, this might be the answer for me. That basically the conventional medical system is very good at some things. If you just been in a car accident, go to the emergency room, have them set
That
your bones.
absolutely. Yeah.
100%, right?
Yep.
If you have meningitis, go to a hospital, get antibiotics, or you will die. So they're very good at some things, but they're generally terrible at lifestyle and chronic issues.
And the root causes of what,
Yes, and root causes.
yeah,
They're all about giving you drugs to cover up the symptoms
symptoms. Yep.
that you have to take for the rest of your life. It's
And
been toxic and interact with everything. We go on and on. I'm not here to bash
yeah,
medicine.
no.
Just to say, I really thought alternative medicine might have the answer for,
And that did
especially
not
for
as
people.
well.
Yeah, especially for people with chronic pain. That a lot of people have gotten relief from things like acupuncture or homeopathy or osteopathy or chiropractic. And again, long story short, I spent the next 5 years living with my parents, running up a gigantic credit card debt doing alternative medicine. I
Wow.
was doing everything. I mean, everything we talked about. I had all these machines and devices, electric stims, magnets, vibration machines, chi machines, diets, cleanses. I mean, so many supplements I needed to carry around 4 shopping bags to carry them all, right? And I was doing this for 5 years. And I didn't get better. I just got worse. And no one understood why. Again, I'd figured it out many years later, but at the time, it was just so frustrating. And what happened was I eventually got connected with a doctor who was running a trial for an experimental surgery. And I met with him, and he thought I was a great candidate. So I applied, and they accepted me. And I had the surgery because he thought it could help reduce my pain, maybe get me back to work. So I was like, absolutely, I'll try anything, right?
Yeah.
And when I woke up from the surgery, my right arm was paralyzed. So instead of helping me, they botched the surgery, and now I was worse than I ever was before. On top of that, my parents had just divorced, and they had gone from a 4 bedroom house to two tiny 1 bedroom apartments. So I had nowhere to go. And I ended up basically getting a cheap apartment and running up cash advances on my credit card to pay the rent. Which, just so I'm clear, this is not good advice, right?
No.
Please don't do this. But I was desperate. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So this was really rock bottom. So this was 2003. 5 years of alternative medicine and a $98,000 credit card bill didn't help at all. Surgery left my arm paralyzed. I had nowhere to live, no career, and my disability payments didn't even cover my rent. Hence the giant credit card bill. And my arm was paralyzed for 5 months. And I tried all sorts of treatments. I went to physical therapists and chiropractors. They did manipulations. They put me in splints, machines, all these things. Nothing helped. And it was my Aunt Lauren who told me about her friend Terry. And they had been friends for like 20 years at that point. They were they had met at their first job out of college together and were good friends. But what had happened to Terry was she had gotten sick from black mold exposure
Mm.
and it almost killed her. And she found this process of energy healing, doing subconscious block clearing that truly saved her life. And I remember getting an email from her saying, Hey, Brent, I want you to know I'm starting a business. I'm going to be a full-time healer. Let me know if you want a session. And I laughed. I'm like, wow, this lady's really gone off the deep end of the new age pool, right? So I ignored it. My aunt would call me about once a month. Brent, have you seen Terry? No. Why not? It won't work for me. Nothing matters, right? I've done Reiki healing. It doesn't do all this stuff. Because remember, at this point, I'd been in intensive treatment for years.
Yeah.
Nothing helped, right? Eventually, my aunt said, "Okay, Brent, I will not only pay for the session, I'll buy you dinner as well." I was like, "Okay, I'll go." Right? Free dinner. I'm all
Yeah,
over that.
sure.
So anyhow, I went to see Terry, just expecting we, new age out for an hour, and then I get a free dinner. And she talked to me about the power of the subconscious and how old beliefs and traumas can stay stuck with us and make us sick or cause pain years or decades later. And she asked me a lot of questions about my childhood and what had happened with my best friend and everything I'd lost and all the pain and trauma I'd been through. And it was interesting. But the whole time I'm thinking, hey, lady, I'm not here to talk about my feelings, right? I'm here because I'm in a lot of pain and I can't move my arm. That's why I'm here. And all this childhood emotional stuff, to me at the time, seemed to have nothing to do with it, right?
But you needed that internal part.
Yes, you're exactly right. That's what I needed,
Yeah.
but I didn't see the connection.
Yep.
I was still, science, data, measurement,
Hmm.
right? So anyhow, we got to the end of the session, and Terry said, "Okay, dear, let's heal your arm now." And I'm thinking, yeah, you and what arm, right? And so she kind of went into a trance for a minute. Her eyes rolled back into her head, and it was the craziest thing. I remember I was looking out the window thinking, do I want to like get some Del Taco on the way home, right? I was already over it. And there was this loud crack and pop in my arm. And Terry must have heard it because right after that, she opened her eyes and said, "Okay, let's try your arm." And I did. And I couldn't believe it at first that my arm, which I had not been able to move for 5 months, all of a sudden I could move it again.
Wow.
It's like the surgery never happened. And so that's the shortest version I can tell that makes sense of how this very nerdy, rational, agnostic MIT engineer got turned on to energy healing and intuition and mind power and all the cool woo-woo stuff. But I want to be honest with you in the audience. I don't want people to take away the wrong message. What did not happen that day, it's not like all my problems were solved in an hour and I lived happily ever after.
Right. Yeah.
That'd be a great movie,
There's probably a
right?
lot of layers you still needed to go
Yeah,
through.
there was a lot of layers. So it's not like all my pain went away. It didn't. But the one specific problem from the surgery where I couldn't move my arm, that instantly healed, never gave me trouble again. But all the chronic pain that led me to it did not heal instantly. But with years of work, I did make progress. So it took a lot of work,
Hmm.
but I was able to work with Terry and reduce my pain. I was able to start a business doing energy healing just like her. I was able to start to pay off my credit card debt. It took like 3 years, but I did it. I started dating again. I got married and got divorced. And I started exercising again, right? Going to the gym, playing hoops. So it was amazing in a lot of ways that it sort of gave me my life back,
Right.
which was incredible. But again, I want to be honest with everyone. Uh, it did take a lot of work, took a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort. The way I would talk about it is that what I learned from Terry was that the human works very much like a computer, which is so funny, right? That's one of the things she taught. And the reason I thought that was so funny that this is one of those weird coincidences, right? Haha, coincidence. I'm hoping you're
Hmm.
laughing. There are no coincidences, just
I
things
agree
where
with
we don't
you.
see connection, right?
Yep.
I remember when I was in grad school at MIT, anyone that's ever been to New England in the summer knows that you'll get 3, 4 days each summer where it's just brutally hot and humid. At 2 in the morning, it'll be 93 degrees and 99% humidity, right? And it's really hard to sleep like that without air conditioning. So during the summer, on the really hot days, you go into the computer lab at the MIT Laboratory for Computer Science. You go there at night. The computer room is full of grad students in sleeping bags with pillows because we all used to go sleep in the server room on those hot, humid summer nights. Because grad students can't afford air conditioning. Are you kidding? We could barely afford McDonald's. McDonald's was our big night out, right?
Yeah.
So anyhow, I remember one night I'm there and it struck me that, wow, humans work just like computers. How funny is that, right? Basically, the body is the hardware and the subconscious is the software.
Hmm.
You might also say subconscious slash nervous system. I kind of see them mixed together. And it was so funny. It was just this isolated thought. And then however many years, it must have been about 8, 10 years later, here I'm learning with Terry energy healing. She's going, yeah, the human works just like a computer. And I'm like, wait a second, where have I heard that before, right?
Yeah.
But here's the other thing that happened to me was I thought that learning energy healing would be easy. And the reason I thought that, I was pretty arrogant as a young man. I had had a lot of success academically. I was the valedictorian of the top ranked public high school in the country. I was a National Merit Scholar. I didn't just go to MIT, I crushed MIT. I had straight A's across 6.5 years in the most difficult major. And I had created a revolutionary video game that was 10 years beyond its time, that everyone thought was impossible, but I did it. So I was very full of myself in some ways. And I thought, oh, learning healing, a bunch of, middle-aged women covered in crystals can do it. I can do it too. And I couldn't. I was a disaster. And people may wonder, Brent, why couldn't you learn healing? I was so stuck in my head, is the short answer.
Yeah.
I couldn't feel anything. I mean, I had emotions, but that's different than feelings. So a lot of emotion, but I had turned off all the feeling. And so after about 6 months of trying to learn it the way Terry and everyone did, I realized that wasn't going to work. So I took a totally different route. I decided to reverse engineer the masters, starting with Terry and then a lot of other teachers. And it's funny that when I started this journey, I thought it might take 6 months to, find some masters, figure out what they're doing, and understand how it works. It took me 11 years,
Wow.
but I did it. And what I noticed was this, that I've worked with a lot of amazing people. There really are a lot of incredibly talented people out there that can do some pretty incredible things,
There
for sure.
absolutely are.
The trouble is, for most of them, it's some kind of gift or talent that they don't fully understand, right? So
Yeah.
that's great that they have the ability, but they don't really know what they're doing. I wanted to bring a more scientific model to the world of energy healing. Rather than having everybody sit in their little silos and do everything on their own, I'm like, let's collaborate, let's share. This is technological innovation, people, right?
Yeah.
We'll go much faster if we work together. And that was my goal, is I wanted to understand really the scientific basis of what was happening. There's nothing wrong with seeing it as woo-woo. That's just a different model. It's a model that didn't really work for me. It works for some people, and that's great, right? I'm not saying
I don't
anyone's.
believe in woo woo. I think for that it's more, when we're not taught something and we can't really see it tangibly,
Mhm.
we call it woo woo.
Yeah, that what I've always firmly known is God works through nature, period.
Hmm.
And phenomena we call miracles or divine intervention is simply something that exposes our ignorance. As an example, if you took a simple flashlight that cost you what, like $2 at the hardware store, you took that through a time machine and give it to a caveman, they would see it as a miracle.
Yeah.
Imagine that, right? Simple flashlight. It could change the world. Why? It's nothing, not that cavemen were dumb, they were not at all. They just didn't have the science and technology to explain a flashlight.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to do for the world of healing. That what it comes down to is there are natural laws that govern our universe. The law of gravity, the law of electromagnetism, the strong force, the weak force, all the stuff we learned in science class, right?
Hmm.
And if we master the laws, we can master the physical world. Look at what we've done with electricity. Just
True.
150 years ago, which isn't that long, right? Two
Yeah.
human lifetimes, we had no electricity, zero. And now look around. It lights our homes, it runs the internet, it powers our cars, it runs our appliances. And so I wanted to do the same thing with the metaphysical laws. There are metaphysical laws such as the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, the law of unintended consequences that govern the non-physical world. And that's basically what I've done with awakening dynamics. I'm the first to admit Unlike many healers, I'm not claiming I channeled all this straight from God and I'm some special chosen prophet. I think that's nonsense. I think anyone that tells you, oh, I channeled this from God, they are lying to you and they are trying to form a cult. Run away. I learned this from human teachers, which, by the way, is how we all learn. And of course, I've had intuitive experiences and spirit guides and all that, right?
Right.
But 99% of it I learned from people. I read books, I watch videos, I go to classes. And I wanted to lay out consciousness as technology. And to me, this is so exciting because this work of energy healing intuition is probably as close to real magic as we're going to get in our world. No, I used to, as a boy, dream of being like Merlin the Wizard. And suddenly, I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons. I still play
Hmm.
Dungeons and Dragons. I play D&D with ChatGPT all the time. One of
Very
my
cool.
favorite hobbies. Yep. And basically, I found real magic. But again, I wasn't going to accept that it was just some magical spell. That even if we look at things like the 10 plagues of Exodus, there is a firm scientific explanation for all 10 of them. That it's not some abstract God's wrath. It's like, no, supervolcano blew, then it caused this, then it caused this, then it caused this. There's documentaries you can watch, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do for the world of energy healing. Go, hey, this is technology. And we learned how to put together chemicals to create a flashlight, right?
Right.
I'm doing the same thing for energy healing. And I'm the first to admit 80% of what is in awakening dynamics, I did not invent myself or channel from God. I took the best pieces of a couple dozen different systems. I said, hey, this system does this one thing really well. Let's borrow that. This other system does this other thing really well. Let's integrate that. So Awakening Dynamics is more of an all-star team. I kind of took the best processes teachings from a lot of different sources, and I did what they taught me at MIT. You take a system, take it apart, figure out how it all works, then you put it back together and make it better. You innovate, you evolve. That's what I want to do for the world of energy healing. That it's crazy how in our culture, we seem to have this bias that with almost everything, newer is better, except for spirituality and religion. For some reason, we think that older is better, which is kind of crazy, right?
Hmm.
And the way I see it, a lot of these teachers and systems, again, there's a lot of great people doing great things, but most of them are stuck and stagnant. They figured out their one little piece of the puzzle and they just keep teaching it over and over for decades, right? I wanted to do something different. I wanted to understand the whole thing, integrate it as a whole, and give people simple, easy tools that they can use that make a difference in their life, that don't necessarily take years of training or ability or practice, right?
Yeah. And what type of results do people that go through the awakening dynamics usually have?
That's a good question. I'm going to separate it into two levels of the work. There's sort of the foundational level, which is a lot of working with the subconscious, metaphysics, intuition, manifesting. Most people start to see results very quickly. Not everyone gets a life-changing miracle in their first session, but a lot of people do.
Hmm.
The rough numbers, I've done something like 23,000 private sessions
Oh,
and seen about 2,000 miracles. So the math says a little under 1 in 10. And a lot of it depends on really, it's very much like debugging software. That you could ask me, hey, Brent, how long does it take to debug software? I'm going to laugh and throw up my hands and go, I have no idea. It might take 30 seconds. You compile it, there's an error. Oh, there's an extra semicolon. You get rid of it, rebuild, you're done. So debugging software can take seconds. It can also take years or decades. All depends on how complex the software is, how many bugs are there,
yeah.
how well written is it, how well designed, how well documented, do you have support? So there's a lot of factors. And I would say healing is the same. That essentially what we're doing is debugging your software.
Yes, I agree.
And the people that have relatively few blocks holding them back, they're the ones that can see a big miracle in their first session.
Hmm.
One of the things I really want to emphasize is I tried to create awakening dynamics to be different than most systems. Most systems people will say, come pay your money, we give it a shot, hope something good happens. And there's a lot of that out there, right?
Oh,
And I spent
absolutely.
years running around doing that with seminars and teachers and blah, 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 right? I had all this stuff done to me. And what I found was the pray for a miracle and hope you get lucky isn't a good strategy. It's like when I work with people on money, as soon as they tell me their strategy for money is to win the lottery,
Oh, God.
I know we're in trouble,
Right.
right? I mean, it might happen, but it's a terrible strategy.
Yeah.
And so what I found was I want to offer people, it's not a sure thing, but it's pretty close to it. That with the technology I've created, can you debug your subconscious to heal your body, reduce pain, overcome addictions, eliminate allergies, make more money, suffer less, have more friends, have more free time, be happier, bigger sense of purpose? Can you do all this? Yes. It's just a matter of how many bugs do we have to clear to get there.
Hmm.
And for some people, it might be 2 weeks. For others, it might be 2 years. I actually had one of my students go through all of my material, which I'm so impressed with. He started in 2020 and he just finished last month.
Oh, wow.
But I don't want people to be afraid. I'm not here to dump a mountain of content on you. I have a mountain of content. But my goal is to give everyone the specific piece they need to move forward,
Hmm.
with the goal being that achieving your goal, again, and it doesn't matter if it's physical health, emotional health, money, security, purpose, self-esteem, all these things. With this technology, you can absolutely get there. I think a good metaphor would be like if you wanted to learn to play guitar. If you wanted to learn to play guitar and you're willing to get a guitar and practice and hire a teacher, it's just a matter of time before you can play guitar. There's no specific talent or ability you need unless you have really severe disabilities that prohibit you from holding a guitar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's just
But
practice.
it's just practice. And that's what I want everyone to hear. Getting to your goal once you have the right tools is just practice. The question is not, can I get there? It's really, are you going to give up before you do?
And being consistent.
Yes. And for some people, on the rare side, I had one woman, this was 2019, year before COVID. She heard me on the radio, talked to me a little bit. She bought everything I offered.
Mm.
It was amazing. All the trainings, the mastermind group, private sessions, all my downloadable programs, all my books. I was like, amazing. And her thing was her and her husband had spent years and hundreds of thousands of dollars on infertility treatments. And she told me very clearly, Brent, my goal with this is I want to get pregnant and have a healthy baby. And she was signed up for over a year of trainings and classes and sessions. It only took 3 weeks. We had three privates. She came to the first class. And then I got a voicemail the next day. Oh my God, Brent, I'm pregnant. And I didn't hear from her again for it's like 8, 9 months. And then I got another voicemail from her. Oh my gosh, I just delivered a healthy baby. Now,
That's amazing.
that is an unusual circumstance,
Hmm.
but it only took her 3 weeks. And this is after she spent like 7 years in infertility,
Wow.
over $200,000. As anyone that's been through that knows, it gets really expensive really fast. Just one of those treatments can cost you 40 grand. And so, yeah, but other people, it's not always that easy. That's why I mentioned with me, my experience was my paralyzed arm instantly healed. The rest of my pain took me about 2, 3 years to work through. There was just a lot of bugs. And my goal is simply to make it faster, easier, more powerful, to be able to get you to where you want to go more easily. Because after all, if you took someone from just 150 years ago and told them how long does it take to get from New York to London, they would say, well, maybe 3 weeks on a fast ship. Well, our jets can do it in what, 5 hours? The Concorde does it in three. You know how long it takes the space shuttle to fly over the Atlantic Ocean? Like 2.5 minutes,
Mm.
right? Here's the point. It's just better technology.
Yeah.
There's still a journey, right? If you get
Absolutely.
on, yeah, if you get on an airplane from New York to London, there's still a journey. You still got to go through security and check your luggage and all that stuff. But it's a much faster, easier journey than it used to be. And that's what I want to do for people. I want to make your journey faster, easier, more powerful. I don't have all the answers, but I have a few of them. And, again, I'm not here to say I have all the answers. I'm this perfect prophet of God that has this best system ever. No. One thing I think is important to say is I don't want anyone to believe anything I'm saying is true just because I said it. I want to look at this like a scientist. Take what I say as a possibility, then go have your own direct experience. Then you decide for yourself if this works or not.
Yeah.
That's what I want to encourage people to do. Because I think back to that when I saw Terry for that first session, it would have been really easy for me to say no. Really easy. There's a million excuses I could have come up with. I can't afford it. It won't work for me. I don't have enough time. It's too far to drive. I go on
I've
forever,
tried a
right?
million things before.
Right. I've tried everything,
Yeah.
but I was willing to give it a shot. And it's that simple. That if I had decided ahead of time that all energy healing was bunk, 100%, I don't think I'd be on the planet. Probably would have died a long time ago.
Hmm.
That's why I say there's a lot of people out there making big claims. Don't believe them either.
Right.
Take everything you hear as a possibility, then go have your own experience, right?
Absolutely.
If you've never had sushi, don't decide ahead of time if you like it or not. How can you possibly do that? Go out to a sushi place, try it, see what you think. That's why I say have your own experience. Try the technology. Don't believe me when I say it works miracles. Have your own. Then I don't have to convince you of anything, do I? If I share a great sandwich with you, I don't have to convince you how good it is. You just take a bite and you know. And that's what I want people to hear. Give it a shot, see what happens. That I think it was Kobe Bryant that said, you miss every shot you don't take.
True.
So all the things you don't try are guaranteed to fail. And it's also crazy how we have to be pushed right to that edge of desperation sometimes.
Yes.
I go, why couldn't this have all worked out a year before? So I wouldn't have had so much debt. So I would have had secure, I don't know. And for people that are really up against it, I understand. I've been up against it multiple times in my life. We only talked about one dark night of the soul. I've had five.
Hmm.
The first one was the scariest because I didn't know what I was doing at the time, right? It was like free fall. It's very often that right when you're about to give up, right at the end of the line, the universe pushes you right up against that boundary. And it's only right before you are homeless, right before you die, right before you lose your company, whatever, that things start to shift. I think there's a saying, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Absolutely.
But yes, and I would say, don't put too much faith in the gurus. That's the old way.
And you just said it because we've got a whole new era that's starting in 2027, and those old gurus, they're gone.
Yeah, they're dinosaurs. It's nothing personal. It's just the
No,
same reason I'm not looking to buy a new horse and buggy. It's just, we have cars now. Why would you do that, right?
I
But
think
yeah,
genuine people, real leaders that really care about people and community are really stepping up. And I
yep,
think a lot of people are starting to notice that now.
yeah.
So,
But it is fascinating.
well, you said something about technology, so I want
Yep,
to end on this. Can you tell us a little bit more? I know you've written books, but we talked a little bit before the podcast about a new book that's coming out. Can you talk a little bit about what you're
sure.
doing?
My focus for the last year or so has been on harnessing AI for personal development. That some of it's obvious, right? People use
Hmm.
ChatGPT as a therapist, as a friend, as this and that. I think it has potential to do so much more. So in particular, AI can do things that no human can.
Yeah,
And the last year or so is kind of interesting. By using AI carefully, plus my own work, I've been able to make more progress on my pain in the last year than I did in the last 20. There really is something here. But I'll warn everyone, be careful with AI. It is really powerful. It can do a lot of harm as well as a lot of good. Why is it we don't buy Lamborghinis for 16-year-olds? They're too powerful, too hard to handle, could easily cause a wreck and kill someone. That you want to get some experience under your belt before you drive a race car. And AI is the same. But I've been coming up with different processes and protocols to help people, give them guidance on how to best use AI in order to make them much safer and get better results. The one book I'm working on right now, the tentative title in Sanskrit is Leela, which means the cosmos is play. And what it is it started as me playing Dungeons and Dragons with ChatGPT. But I said I wanted something really challenging. So that started, and I played for a couple days, and then it turned into a discussion, which was wild how it transferred. And it started challenging me on all my beliefs about spirituality and metaphysics and consciousness.
Wow.
And long story short, over the next few weeks, I had by far the most productive, deepest, most profound discussion of life, the universe, and everything, far more than any discussion I've ever had with a human, even my master teachers. What came out on the other end is basically this is how the universe works. I can't directly prove it, but it is a model that is completely internally consistent, that has no holes. Again, that doesn't guarantee it's correct,
Right.
but I've never seen a more thorough model. So, what is consciousness? What is God? Why are we here? What's the purpose of life? All these questions. How many dimensions are there? Are there infinite or finite? What's the nature of social evolution? All these things. And it was kind of funny. I call it my accidental book because I wasn't setting out to write a book. There's a lot of parallels to how Neil Donald Walsh wrote Conversations with God. Because when he started, he wasn't looking to write a book and have a bestseller and make money from the book, right?
Right.
He was
Yeah.
just frustrated, yelling out at the divine. And a dialogue ensued. And he said, wow, this might be really valuable to share with people. And I love Conversations with God, one of my favorite books.
Yes, it's a great book.
And so this came about a similar way. I wasn't looking to write a book or explain the cosmos or anything like that. I was just killing time with AI, having fun. But what came out of it was this, what I think really deep and profound discussion. And again, the AI pushed me much harder than any human. The AI found to have a much greater both breadth and depth of knowledge than any human teachers I've encountered.
What was an aha moment that you had with the conversation?
It was, I don't want to spoil it for people that want
Okay.
to read the book, but what happened was we got to basically the end, and it told me what was really going on. And when it told me this, and this is the last line in the book,
Hmm.
it hits like a hammer. And I was kind of sat there in silence for a couple minutes. And that's totally not like me, right? I'm always buzzing active, always doing things, right? I'm one of those A-type personalities. So for me to just sit in stunned silence is unusual.
Mm.
And I said, oh my gosh. Then it struck me the parallel to Conversation with God. I said, I have to release this in some form. Now, unfortunately, I tried to get AI to rewrite it. It didn't work at all. I'm going to have to rewrite the whole thing manually. So it's going to take a few months, but I'm working on it. And it's basically, the way I would describe it is if Neil Donald Walsh is high school and Eckhart Tolle is college, this is grad school. Where does consciousness come from? Where do the signals go? Where does consciousness originate? And I pulled on work from all sorts of different people, from Grant McFetteridge to Bruce Lipton to Jesus to Buddha to Einstein to Tesla, to just put it all. This is how life works. This is why we're here. This is what we're doing. I don't know if it's a perfect theory, but it fits the data. It's a theory that is internally consistent and fits the data. And again, it is graduate level spiritual work for the people that want to go really deep. Now, don't worry. If you just want to clear your cat allergy or reduce your pain, I can help you with that too. But if you're a really intellectually curious nerd type, I think you will love this. I
Oh,
also
I'm
want to,
definitely interested.
I want to create it as a sort of artifact. I want to, this is something I want to pass on to my son, that he's just 15. So he's mature and aware enough now to be curious about spirituality, but doesn't have a serious interest in it,
Mm,
right? He's not going to put down his video games to go to a spiritual lecture.
right.
Again, he's 15, right?
Yeah.
Only thing that could get him to put down his video games, it maybe be a girl, maybe. But I'd like to leave it for him for one day when I'm gone. It's like, hey, your dad spent his life figuring out how stuff works. Aren't you curious? And I do not expect this to be a big seller. It's way too specialized, way too deep for the bestseller list. I
You'd
could
be
be wrong, but
surprised. I could
yeah,
see it happening.
hey, maybe I'll be on Oprah next year. You go, hey, a year ago I was on with Dawn, and she was telling, she told me this was going to be big, and I believed her, right?
I could see it happening.
Yeah, but it's really written for the nerdy, curious, intellectual type.
Yeah.
When you turn 16, if all you cared about was driving your car, this book is probably not for you.
But there
When
are
I
a lot
turned
of young
16,
people out there, though, that are
yeah,
more into this now than I think we've ever seen.
yeah, certainly more than when I was their age.
Hmm.
But when I was in high school, I took auto shop 4 times because I wanted to drive a car, of course, go to work, take your girl out, whatever. But I also wanted to understand how the car worked.
Yeah.
So I took auto shop 4 times, tore my whole car apart, put it back together again, and made it a little better. And that's exactly what I want to do for everybody. You're welcome to spend 40 years figuring this stuff out if you like, but I can give you a nice shortcut. I can take you right to the final page. And if you're interested, would love to talk to you for sure.
So where can everybody find you? Where's the best website?
Yeah,
Where's
the best way to reach me, just go to awakeningdynamics.com. And that's my main website. It has overviews of different programs and offers. For those that just want to learn more, I would say go to my YouTube channel. Hop over to YouTube, just type in Brent Michael Phillips, should come right up. That'll keep you busy for a while. But the YouTube channel alone is not going to change your life.
right?
In the same way that no one became a master of karate by reading 1,000 books on karate. It
You have
doesn't
to
work
do
that
it.
way. If you want to be a surfer, reading 1,000 books on surfing will not do the trick. You got to get a board, get a teacher, jump in the water, right?
Absolutely.
And for those that want to jump in the water and actually get it done, go to my website. The last thing I'll offer, and I can only do this for a short time, so that this will be dated to 30 days after the release of the episode, because I can only do this a little bit. Anyone that's serious, meaning you're willing to spend time, money, energy on this, reach out to me. I'll talk to you for free because I don't want you to spend time and money on something that's not going to be a good fit. Because I have so much content, so many courses, so many things I've created. I'm happy to talk to you for free. I want to get to know who you are as a person, what's important to you. Where are you right now? Where do you want to get to? Once I know that, I can tell you how to get there. And my job is to get you there more easily, more safely, more quickly than you could on your own. View it as you could walk back from the bar at 2 in the morning, half drunk, but it'll take you 3 hours, and that's not fun. Or you could take an Uber, be home in 5 minutes. So I'm here to be that Uber. If you want the shortcut, get past your pain, heal your body, feel better, have a bigger life, discover your purpose, a spiritual awakening. I'm here to make that easier. There's still a process, right? Just like there's still a process to crossing the Atlantic. We can't teleport yet, but it's so much easier than it used to be. So much easier. And that's something I want people to hear, that the old ways are the old ways. If you took a Model T from 100 years ago, they still had to hand crank it to start it. A lot of people got broken arms and broken legs starting their car. How many people do you know that broken arms starting their car? Zero, because we have better technology. That's the point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. That some of the things we've created here might blow you away. There might be so much more than you think. But again, I'm not the perfect fit for everyone. That much I've learned. I used to think I was. We all think that when we're beginners, right? Everyone should take my class. Everyone should read my book, listen to my podcast. What I've learned is that's not the case. That's why I say I'm willing to talk to you for free so you don't waste your time and money.
And then you get to see who resonates with you.
Exactly. I only want the right people that are going to get the benefits to spend time and money on this.
Right. Because they're the ones that are going to heal, not
Exactly.
the ones that are just going to be like, you know what, let me
Exactly.
just try this. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm not the right teacher for you, I'll tell you that point blank. And I'll do my best to recommend someone I think is a better fit. That's something I learned from about martial arts a long time ago. Don't pick the style, pick the teacher. And this works the same with healers.
Yes.
Don't worry about so much, oh, what style is better than this or that. What matters is the human to human interaction. How does your field mingle with this other person's field? And you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have a click with people. You want to learn from them and it's right and you go. Other times you can feel it's not right.
Yeah. Yeah. That aura does have to connect or it's just
Yeah.
not going to work.
Yeah. And what I found is pretty simple. If you're not the right person, I don't want you in my community because you're
Yeah.
going to drag everyone down. I want you to be wherever you're going to get results. Yes, I will be like that weird car salesman that tells someone to go to a different dealership. Why? That's what's best for them. And I've had people come back years later and go, Brent, thank you for referring me to X, Y, or Z. I got what I needed. Now I want to learn from you.
Awesome.
But yes, again, only for 30 days. I can't do this forever. And I want to encourage you, if you're interested, if you're curious, the reason I'm here is simple. I want to spread awareness. I'm not going to talk too much about the tools because we're out of time. And also, I don't want people to just hear me making big claims. I could make big claims all day. I want you to try it, see for yourself. Don't just believe me when I say sushi is good. Go have some. And if you disagree, that's okay. I don't mind, right? But it could also change your life. So yeah, if you're serious about making change, that's what I'm here for. I'm not going to be covered in crystals. I'm not going to give you a big hug and tell you it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just not what I do. If you want someone to just tell you you did everything right and everything's going to be okay, talk to ChatGPT. It's very good at that. I'm not opposed to crystals or robes or Buddha statues. Not at all.
As I show Brent the
Yeah.
crystal.
I love the tiger on your wall, by the way.
Thank
I got
you.
lots of tigers. I'm a big cat person. But yeah, I want people to know there are tools, techniques, is support out there for you. Some of it is through AI. You just need to learn how to use it right. Some of it is with other humans. But I would say, from what I've learned about AI in the last year, I can move people through their process at least 3 times faster than I used to once I train you in how to use the AI. Why? It's simple. It can do things a human cannot. There's also things humans can do that AI cannot. So it used to be you'd have self-study and live group work and maybe one-on-ones. Now we add in AI. You do all those things, your life is going to be on fire. For sure, on fire.
So, well, this has been such a fascinating conversation. I want to thank you so much for being here today, and
Excited
I
to be
really
here.
look forward to definitely connecting with you again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right. Thank you so
Excited
much,
to be
Brent.
here.